What's up, clones? Got myself cloned for science. Which one of you wanted to see me again? Not I. Not you. If not you, then who? Her? Who? Me? No, they. We? Us? Us. That's enough. All these pronouns are way too confusing. You think this is confusing? Try it in another language. Okay. The good news is, today we are covering the top 10 pronouns in Spanish. These are 10 pronouns and 10 clones. So each clone takes a pronoun. Understanding subject pronouns in Spanish is a lot less confusing than it looks. To get our heads around it, we only need to cover 3 simple topics. First, we'll explain what pronouns are. Then, we'll go over the top 10 most common and useful pronouns in Spanish. And finally, we'll tell you when to use certain pronouns and when to not use certain pronouns. If we put our heads together, by the end of this video, you'll be using pronouns like a pro. These are the top 10 subject pronouns in Español. What are pronouns? In Spanish, as in English, we have different kinds of pronouns. They are used to identify the subject of a verb. They also enable us to make our speech sound more fluent by turning long sentences into short ones. Spanish subject pronouns are the elements in the sentence that are in charge of carrying out the action indicated by the verb. Subject pronouns will replace the subject of a sentence, which may refer to people, animals, or objects. For example, mi mamá no está en casa. Ella regresará en una hora. Translates to, my mother is not at home. She'll be back in an hour. Note that ella, or the she in she'll, as in she will, is the subject pronoun. Another example is, Batuque y Pepe son mis perros. Ellos son unas mascotas adorables. Batuque and Pepe are my dogs. They are lovable pets. It's also important to know how subject pronouns work because they determine 2 very important things: the conjugation of the verbs and the gender of the nearby adjectives. Now that we know the meaning and function of the subject pronouns in Spanish, let's learn them all, compared with their English counterparts. Let's get my clones back in here. Come on. The 10 subject pronouns in English and their Spanish counterparts. I is yo in Spanish. You in formal is tú. He is él. She is ella. You formal is usted. We masculine is nosotros. We feminine is nosotras. You plural is ustedes. They masculine is ellos. And they feminine is ellas. Now, side note, if you're speaking Spanish in Spain or other Latin American countries, then you'll also want to know how to use the pronoun vosotros too. Comment below if you want to see us make a video explaining how to use vosotros. As you can see, some of the subject pronouns in Spanish have straight translations into English, while a few differ in Spanish based on gender and formality. English has the gender-neutral pronoun it, but in Spanish, every noun is either masculine or feminine, él or ella. Spanish acknowledges gender not only for he and she, like in English, but also in the plural for we, nosotros and nosotras, and they, ellos and ellas. Spanish has a formal you, usted, as well as a plural pronoun form of ustedes. Now that we've covered the top 10, let's look at when to use and when not to use subject pronouns. How often have you asked why Spanish verb conjugations are so different from English? We can know who or what the subject of a sentence is through that conjugation. Then we can drop the pronoun and still have all the information we need about the subject at the verb's ending. For example, the meaning of the following sentence does not change whether the subject pronoun is present or omitted. Yo voy a viajar en avión la semana próxima. I will travel by plane next week. Voy a viajar en avión la semana próxima. I will travel by plane next week. I just said that. Said what? That. Guys, chill. So, when can subject pronouns be omitted? When the sentence's subject is clear thanks to the context or form of the verb. For example, mi gato es hermoso, tiene pelo largo. My cat is beautiful, it has long hair. Subject pronouns can also be omitted when there is a verb related to weather in the sentence, like rain or snow. For example, llovió toda la mañana. It rained all morning long. And it's also okay to omit subject pronouns when the English pronoun it is used as a subject or when they is used to refer to things. For example, ¿qué hora es? Son las 5 en punto. What time is it? It's 5 o'clock. ¿Qué son? Son palmeras. What are they? They're palm trees. Now that we know when not to use pronouns, let's find out when we should use them. We need to include subject pronouns for clarity, emphasis, contrast, in phrases based around the verb ser, to be, and after que and como when making comparisons. Let's take a look at an example of using subject pronouns for clarity. Mi madre y mi padre son maestros. Él enseña matemáticas y ella enseña literatura. This translates as, my mother and father are teachers. He teaches mathematics and she teaches literature. For clarity, note that if we drop the subject pronouns, we wouldn't know who teaches which subject. Let's take a look at an example of using subject pronouns for emphasis. ¿Tú qué crees? Which means, what do you think? Okay, now an example of using subject pronouns for contrast. Yo toco el piano, pero ella toca la guitarra, which means I play the piano, but she plays the guitar. Here's an example of using subject pronouns in phrases based around the verb ser, to be. Soy yo, it's me, and eres tú, which translates to it's you. Finally, let's take a look at an example of using subject pronouns after que and como in comparisons. María es mejor oradora que tú. Translates to, María is a better speaker than you. So, if you're getting the hang of when to include and omit subject pronouns in Spanish, you're beginning to master one of Spanish's most fundamental grammar rules. So that does it for today's lesson. Thanks for all your help, guys. For even more information on subject pronouns in Spanish, check out our in-depth guide in the description box below. And if you want to practice what you learned in a real conversation, then why not schedule your first Baseline class today? At Baselink.com, you get access to unlimited one-on-one Spanish classes with native-speaking teachers, all via Zoom. Try your first week for only $1. Be sure to check out our video, The Ultimate Guide to Every Spanish Verb Tense, for even more Spanish knowledge. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.